Hello, Abraham. I have a quick question. How do we make conscious connection with unconscious, I guess? We hear Esther has a connection with you, and I know you say having a non-resistance and being in the same vibration. That's a desire that I'd like to make. We love Esther, but I know I have a same connection with you. I have that opportunity. I know sometimes Esther talks about, being able to tap into Steve Jobs. We talked about that in the past, about the mastermind. The idea of being able to connect with you and others is really interesting to me. And I'd like to know how to do that as specifically as possible.
Well, most important, it's the same process as the creation of anything. Hold a desire for it that's clear, and in this case specific, and then don't offer thoughts that contradict it, like I'm not doing it. Look for evidence of it. In other words, notice how often you receive inspiration. That's what that is. Notice how often you do catch fleeting glimpses. The only difference between what Esther is doing here and what everyone is doing sometimes is that Esther has learned to steady her vibration. And it comes mostly, the words that are most meaningful or most appropriate for the steadying that we mentioned is her expectation. In other words, Esther never wonders when she comes to the podium and readies herself for us if we will be there. She never wonders if we will be there. She never wonders if she will be able to hear us. She's just sure about it. Now, you might say, well, that certainty has come with practice. But she never wondered about it right from the beginning. In other words, every time she sat to receive us, she received us. And the reason that she received us from the moment that she was ready to receive us is because she was ready to receive us. In other words, it's when you try to do something that you're not ready for and it doesn't happen, then you foster feelings of doubt about it. So again, it's like the how do I get rid of doubt? Well, you get rid of it before it starts. It's the pre-paving. So if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would meditate every day. We would spend 15 or 20 minutes at a minimum quieting our mind, and we would not be trying to make something happen with the quieting of the mind. That was the thing that was most beneficial to Esther. She wasn't trying to make this happen. So the fact that it wasn't happening never caused her to get a foothold of some sort of doubt that then grew. She wasn't trying to make it happen. She was just meditating. She was just meditating. She was just enjoying the feeling of detachment. She was just enjoying the feeling of upliftment. She was enjoying the quiet of the meditation. So she was achieving vibrational alignment with us with no ulterior motive. So isn't that interesting that we would use a word like ulterior motive or motive in the midst of a conversation about deliberate creation? If I have a goal, if I want something, what do you mean? Don't have a motive. Isn't my goal in and of itself a motive? And so how do I get rid of the desire? And we say, that's what it's about. It's about balancing the desire with the belief. And if you're doubting something that you really want, you're not going to move forward to it. If you're not trying to make something happen that you are accomplishing, there's almost a better balance in that. So really what it boils down to is just not trying too hard and recognizing the evidence of when there is alignment. And recognize also that this is going to be your unique relationship. This is not going to be channeling Abraham in the sense that Esther is, because Abraham, as you know Abraham to be, is the combination of what Esther is in this energy. Yours is going to be a different experience. Similar, but a different, unique experience, unique unto you, you see.
Well, I certainly feel that. In fact, I'm sure you're somewhat aware of it. Anytime I come to these things, I'm usually writing 100 questions. While I'm writing 70 of them, while I'm writing it, the answer is there.
Yes.
So I'm more interested, I guess, maybe trying too hard to actually consciously. It always amazes me that Esther shows up and you guys show up. I always have the fear of Esther saying, sorry guys, Abraham is not available. So that's the part that I guess maybe was questioned for me is how to distinguish that, yes, I'm actually connected right now, or no, I'm kind of BSing and coming up with my own answers.
Well, if ever you are doing that, and plenty of people do, if ever you are doing that, you can feel that you're doing that. In other words, there's an insecurity you can feel when you're doing that. Again, it's the preparation for it. It's the readiness for it. And this is helpful too. It's the remembering that the vibration of the question and the frequency of the question and the frequency of the answer are different frequencies. And allowing yourself in the beginning especially to distinguish which is happening. Because when you're asking a question about something that is really serious and important to you, a question to which you don't know the answer, the vibration of not knowing the answer is what's dominant, and that's not the time when you're going to receive the inspiration of the answer. And so being willing to ask questions and then let them rest and then let the answers flow to you and then acknowledging, oh, this is the answer to that question. That's really, really helpful. Esther had the benefit of Jerry doing the questions. Jerry was full of questions. Esther didn't have any questions. Esther was just bipping along, living happily ever after. Jerry had all the questions. So Esther was not in the questioning mode. Esther was in the bipping along, living happily ever after mode. So Jerry is asking the questions. Esther was a ready receiver, you see. So just understanding that letting a little time be between your question and your receiving of the answer is beneficial. And just let it flow. Don't try to make it happen. Let it flow. It will flow. And you will recognize it when it does. And sometimes it's also helpful when someone else is asking the question that you don't have any attachment to. That's easier too. So if we were standing in your physical shoes, we wouldn't be hesitant about saying to a friend, hey, let's see what kind of receiving we can do together. And then one of you take the position of asking and the other of you get into that of answering. Meditate first so that you're in that high-flying place. The reason it happens to you all the time in this room or in these rooms is because as we are visiting and as we are presenting the vibration that is us, and as you are receiving it and participating in it, you become one with us. Isn't it true? Aren't you always smarter in this room than you are when you leave? Isn't it uncanny how much of this you really get? This makes so much sense when you are here. And then you go home and they say, what did you learn? And you say, But it's because you are in the receiving mode. That's why we call this co-creating at its best, you see. Helpful? Specific enough?
I think so.
Yeah, really good.
Thank you.
Yes. Do you acknowledge that nothing has been left undone?
Good to visit with you again. In the last few years, I've had a chance to ask you about dreams. And this relates to that as well. I have had a recurring set of dreams that involves a friend of mine from when I was younger. And we were childhood friends. And we actually ended up going to college together. And then, for the most part, I haven't really interacted with him since then. But he's over the last 5 years, I've been keeping a dream journal. He's sort of like a regular recurring figure. And some of them were very interesting. Like in one, there was a dream where I'm looking at a mirror and we were both appearing in the mirror in the dream, reflecting back. And then another one was where we're sitting in seats side by side, but facing in different directions. And my interpretation of that has been, borrowing a phrase from the Seth material, the idea of a counterpart or someone who you may share a common inner self with. Is that a valid interpretation of those dreams? And the fact that someone is a recurring figure, even though you're not interacting with them on a regular basis?
Well, it could be that, but it also could be, and as we talk, you'll be able to feel which it feels more like it is.
Right.
So how much time did you spend together in the early part of your life?
Quite a bit. At one point in our lives, we were probably best friends.
And how early did you meet?
We were in the second grade and through, we were in a relatively small grade school.
So you were in the process of sort of discovering life together in those early days.
Correct. And even when we went to college, like our mothers were friends, and they took us to interview at college together, and so there was quite a bit of that, in our early life.
And so is it logical to say that you gave enough attention to one another that you significantly activated in each other the awareness of the other? In other words,
yeah.
Because a belief is just a thought that you keep thinking. So,
but in this case, I don't feel like I consciously think about this person really over the last 15 or more years. It's not someone who, we just sort of drift in different directions, and I don't think on my day-to-day conscious level, I'm not really thinking of him.
Well, the reason that we are approaching it in this way and eager for you all to experience the unfolding of this conversation is because it helps us in a different way than you expect to explain to all of you what beliefs are and what dormant beliefs are and what active beliefs are.
Good.
Because really all of you are soulmates in the sense that you have all interacted before on many occasions.
Right.
And the soulmate idea or the twin flame idea is a way of explaining that, as our friend who we were talking about language, that we are all more alike than we are different at the basis of what we are. And so we're really not wanting to approach it from that point of view. But we are wanting to discuss what it's like when you give attention to something, and by giving attention to it, you activate it in your vibration. And with someone like a friend, you activate it in a significant enough way that it's likely that it will always be active in your vibration, even though aspects of your life may be detracting you from it, and you may rarely, if ever, think about it. It's still active in your vibration. So it still is a point of your attraction. Now, if you've been listening to us for a while, and we know you have, you've heard us say that what you think and therefore how you feel and what manifests in your experience, it's always the same. In other words, what you feel about something, what you think about something, and the manifestation of it always match. And that's true of dream state too.
Right.
The dream state is an easier way to reveal what's active in your vibration, because while you're slumbering and there's no resistance, then active vibrations can show up. So this is just showing you that you got a vibration started early in life, not a helpful one or a not helpful one. We're just talking about an active vibration that when you are in a state of non-resistance, as you are when you are slumbering, that active vibration can be interpreted into the dream state. A dream state is like real life in that it is revealed. It's something that revealed isn't the best word. You are realizing it through your dream state.
Right.
So we're really appreciating this question because it helps us to explain, and it's something that you've been wondering about too. What beliefs did I pick up along my physical trail that are still players in my experience? Because people want to talk about the subconscious thoughts that may be having an impact on their life experience. And what we always say about subconscious thoughts, if you're not feeling any emotion around them, then they're not big players in your experience. So in the dreams that you recall, was there any emotional impact?
That's the odd thing. For the most part, like none of these are nightmares. None of these are particularly exhilarating dreams. It just seems like, for whatever reason, this person is sort of repeatedly there sometimes as a main figure, sometimes as a background figure.
But the point is, it's an active vibration, slightly active in the sense that every thought that is ever thought still exists. So it's a relationship that is still vibrating, that's not a big player in your experience, that in a state of complete non-resistance shows you that it's still there.
Still there. Okay.
So now, if you really want to have some fun with it, you can consciously begin remembering everything that you can about this friend.
Okay.
In other words, start a journal of what you remember. Try to remember the conversations that you had. More important, try to remember the way you felt about this person. Try to remember what impact, emotional impact, he was having on you or you were having on him.